Okay, so since the last video, I had wiring issues. When you would hit the throttle, the motor would squeak, jerk, and that was it. It wouldn't go. So it turns out wiring on the motor, on the three-phase, there's yellow, green, and blue. For whatever reason, when you wire to the control box with that, you do green, blue, blue, green, yellow, yellow. Once I did that, the cart took off. Runs pretty good. We ran it the first time in high gear. It's pretty fast. Middle gear seems to work the best, especially for battery life. So I have a few things I did here. My AGM battery is in the second case over here. The controller is in the closest case to us. When I did get it going good, the motor has forward and reverse. Well, I realized that reverse, regardless of what stage you use for a gear selection or speed control, reverse is always the same speed. And I actually had the motor right here turn the other direction, and the sprocket was parallel with the framing. So simple fix on it was to just unbolt the mounts. It's a 4-hole square setup, so flip the motor the other way, slide the sprocket over, and just run it that way. So that turned out good. A few hiccups here and there driving it. I realized with this solid axle, let me take the jack out of the way. So I made the cart really wide because eventually I want to add solar panels to it to help charge the batteries in the summer. So I'm with like a 52-inch wide cart here. And with this rear axle, what we ran into right away was I could really hear the motor take a groan when we turned sharp because of the solid live axle with that outer wheel wanting to spin faster. And it definitely needed some improvement. Differential type setup would be great. However, you add so much weight with something like that. So right here, what I did was I just made a simple slip clutch, similar to what farm equipment has. That is a spring right here off a small block Chevy head with the right tension, and here are the cogs. So there we go. So you can see what happens is it drives solid with the axle, but when you turn or have extra pressure put on it, these cogs right here will open and jump just like that and click. There we go. So you can see it slip. What it allows is more of a differential action. The motor doesn't have that pull on it when you turn sharp. You still have, a posi traction pretty good on straight. And then when you're turning, obviously you take the pressure off one of the wheels to make up for the speed. So it works good. It doesn't pull on the motor. I played around with it a little bit. I tried 2 different springs that they weren't strong enough. They broke and stretched and everything else. I knew I needed something heavier like a motor valve spring, so I grabbed a couple out at the junkyard. On the outer wheel of that clutch, I welded on a threaded 5/8 shaft right there, so you can actually use spacers and set the nut further in or out for your spring tension. So right now it's fairly loose, but with the kids riding it, works out pretty good. Over here, eventually I'll be adding more stuff. I'm charging batteries right now. I got my phone fixed. I broke the lens. That's why I had to wait a week for a video. I just mounted, it's a 3-way coggle here for forward and reverse with neutral in the middle. So you can turn that while you're driving, and then the on and off switch. The next thing I need to do is in between each battery, in order to charge, you have to single charge a 12-volt system with a 12-volt charger. It won't charge from one end to the other on a 48-volt pack. So you have to unhook every other lead. I'm going to mount a bracket somewhere and add 4 toggle switches with on and off. So when it's time to charge, I can just click the switches to off and then individually charge each battery without actually having to unhook anything. And once I get that going, the next step, it's a 48-volt controller. It basically runs from 52 volt down to roughly 44 volt. Once you hit 44 volts with a pull, when you step on the throttle, that's where the motor just runs out of juice. And I sent a few emails out. I'm not sure if I can do it or if it'll matter, but I'd like to add a really good AGM 32 amp hour battery right up front here behind the front wheel, and actually start with just running the solar panels into that, and then have that switch over into the kart when the batteries go low for a charge. That's all down the road. However, for now, at least at this point, the axle's done, the motor's set right, this little slip clutch is going, everybody's been riding it. I've just left it in second gear for speed. Seems like for the most part that's really all you need. The disc brakes getting broke in slows the motor good. Yeah, we've been riding it in the snow and all over, and it's pretty fun. So anyhow, like I said, my other good AGM batteries in that box. It obviously, every time I use it, when I check it when we're done, that thing's just full of power. It's got way more than the little lawnmower tractor batteries here. So anyhow, I will kick out another video when I get it rolling. And just glad that I got a lot of this wiring figured out and hooked up right, because I knew it was going to go. So yeah, it's working good.